Warm greetings from the High 10. It is Saturday, June 6, 2020. I'd like to bring you said information pertaining to the ruckus that transpired in New York days ago pertaining to the death of George Floyd and the protest and brutality enacted by the police towards civilians that were protesting. If you need verification for the storyline, please log on to The Hill. NYPD Commissioner apologizes for racial bias and excessive force. New York Police Department, NYPD Commissioner Dermot Shea on Thursday apologized for the department's racial bias and use of excessive force amid ongoing protests against police brutality of Black Americans and the death of George Floyd. "I am sorry," Shea said at a press conference Thursday, where footage of police officers using force against protesters was shown. "So for our part in the damage to civility, for our part in racial bias and excessive force, unacceptable behavior, unacceptable language, and many other mistakes, we are human. I am sorry. Are you?" New York City saw some of the largest protests in the U.S. following the death of George Floyd, an unarmed Black man who died in Minneapolis police custody last week. Shea said at the press conference that the NYPD has caught people from out of town coming to the city to incite violence. He also said 3 police officers were hurt while patrolling for looting in Brooklyn. The NYPD has faced scrutiny in recent days over its handling of protests in the city, including criticism of one video showing 2 police cruisers lurching through protesters and another video of an officer pushing a woman to the ground. Sometimes even the best, and the NYPD is the GD best police department in this country, but sometimes even the best of the best fall down, Shea said. And that is brought to you by The Hill. Let me say this. This means nothing to me once again, this rhetoric from the Commissioner Dermot Shea, because I watched a man, I believe he was riding a bicycle one evening this week, and his back was to the officer. So whatever you're trying to feed me in the public, that this man was doing this, and this is what led to this officer beating him with a baton. He was hitting his arms, his legs, like you're severely whooping a child, because that's what it looked like. A grown man whooping this grown man as if he was his child, and kept on beating him with a baton. But the sick part of the video is that the man was riding away on the bicycle. You see, attempting to try to get away. So if he was unruly in speech, this and that means nothing, because that defeats the purpose of him having the right to protest. So you can't beat somebody because they're saying, yeah, 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 yeah. That's what a lot of people have been doing. Yelling out this and that. Even name calling. Why would you take it personal? Your job is to keep the peace, not go there to beat the damn people up. So beating a man with his back to you and he's running away from you, trying to get away on a bicycle, why were you beating him? Several joined in. And that was obvious. And I didn't care for Mr. Cuomo's comment either, the governor, trying to basically say, you're accusing my officers of New York City of brutality, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, like one reporter, anchor said, he has a show or program on MSNBC. What do you want us to believe? We're looking at the video. We're watching it live. How are you going to tell us that we're not seeing what we are seeing? And that's my point exactly. Even with the video of George Floyd being murdered before our eyes, whether you watched it at the time or you watched it afterwards, 20 minutes later, a day later, it's still someone killing Mr. Floyd and others standing idly by and not rendering aid. So as people watch the brutality take place in New York City via the TV screen, via clips later on social media, YouTube, the news, who are you to tell us that that's not what we were seeing? You pushing your officers, shoving, spraying tear gas, using force with batons, actually hitting the people, beating the people with the batons. I say beat because hitting, to me, once you hit a person more than 3 times, to me, you're beating them. Sad to say. Come on. We're all grown folks. Who am I? I expect the better of you only because of your flight, your plight rather, in dealing with COVID-19 and how Mr. Trump treated you and other governors and state and local officials in dealing with masks and protective gear and ventilators, how you were out on a limb not too long ago dealing with the pandemic and Trump threw you under like the rest of these governors, officials. And I felt sorry for you because you had a lot of people dying and coming into the hospital sick in New York City, state of New York. But for you now, with the death of Mr. Floyd, trying to downplay the actions of some of your finest, NY finest, that's even low for you. Because my thing is, sometimes it's best to not speak until you have all the evidence and you have seen said information. Don't ever say what somebody did not do if one, you were not there and you haven't actually visual watched, seen footage of people being brutalized, manhandled, beat by New York City police officers. And you should know better due to the fact that they're protesting because a man died in Minneapolis from the hands of police officers. That was a low blow. And the fact that this commissioner makes this comment here, this to me is just as shallow and disrespectful to the citizens as well. You're going to say, so for our part in damage to civility, for our part in racial bias, excessive force, unacceptable behavior, unacceptable language, and many other mistakes, we are human. I am sorry. Are you? Well, see, that is the thing about an apology. You can't apologize to me or someone for wrongdoing to me or others and then in turn say, but are you sorry? You're either apologizing or you're not. Because the apology, therefore, is not genuine if you want to then double back and say, but look at what you did. Look at what you said. You're either sorry or you're not. And you're supposed to be taught that anyway. When you apologize, you say you're sorry, but you don't use a but. You see where I'm going? You don't use a but. You're either sorry or you are not sorry. No double backing. So that was not a genuine apology to the public because you then ended it with, are you sorry? So now you're basically playing tit for tat. You want the people now to say, are you sorry? Well, what would they be sorry for? And who are you addressing that comment to exactly? Whom? The looters? Do you see where I'm going with this? That was foul and it's rank. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to say this, as I just stated in the video I uploaded, and I'm going to say it again due to the fact it is in conjunction to this said piece about this NYPD commissioner apologizing to the public, which, as I state, is not a genuine apology. You cannot change people. You can hoop and holler, scream, protest, rally, curse people out, loot, vandalize, set things on fire. It will not matter because you see, as you see with this retarded commissioner, yeah, I said it, goes public to apologize, yet ask you, are you sorry? And who is you, as I stated? Who are you speaking to? Who is the reference to? So you see, you can't change a person's mindset. You can't tell a person how to think. You can't tell a person how to act. And so many people are walking around pretending to be humans, pretending to be Christians, pretending to be religious, pretending to be objective, free thinkers, but they are not. They are no different than the people they are scrutinizing, judging, name-calling, racial profiling, on and on. Because you're not out here beating somebody up today, vandalizing a car, a building today, you're still no different if you think all blacks are beneath you and they are niggers. You think it's okay to go to work and beat somebody with a baton because they're protesting or because they're still standing outside past the curfew. How is you enacting violence against them going to change the scenario to better the situation? You're doing the same damn thing. But what you're doing is worse because you have been hired to uphold the law, police officer. You see, many people are racist, and they are CEOs of corporations, they are school teachers, they are doctors, they are nurses, construction workers, your neighbors, your friends, your associates, they are pastors, they are rabbis, they are also children, sadly. And you cannot change their mind frame, their mindset, their upbringing, their rearing, their thought process. To each its own. And many people are racist. And even the ones who hang with the Mexican, the Jew, the Arab, the black, it means nothing. Because see, how you actually feel about a person, how you actually feel about poverty, how you actually feel about the welfare system. Yeah, I'm going there because I'm keeping it 100 today. Shows who you really are and how you really think. And that's just a spoken word. Because you see, if you want to know if a person is racist, start talking to them about poverty. Hold a conversation with them about welfare reform, people getting public aid, food stamps, housing, Section 8 vouchers, yah. And then you will see the real friend, associate, co-worker, boss for who they really are. You see what I'm saying? See, sometimes you think you know people, but you do not. But I always say, talk about the grittiest of conversations with them. Talk about the subject matter you know will probably get them hype and crunk, and then the real person will reveal him or herself in the said conversation. And that's how I feel about what is transpiring in our country right now. There are a lot of people who are racist. There are a lot of people who are biased. There are a lot of people who feel they are self-entitled because they are white. And they will never say that, yes, I feel I am self-entitled, I am better than you. But if you start to hold a conversation about certain things that are transpiring in our country, the past, slavery, they will reveal themselves. And then you'll know that all that BS they have been spewing to you has been just that, BS. That's the spoken word today. This story was brought to you by The Hill if you need verification. Praying for the Floyd family, praying for all cities, New York, Georgia, everywhere, far in between, all the same. Once again, funeral services in North Carolina as I speak, and third service for Mr. George Floyd will take place in Houston, Texas on Monday. God bless all of you. Stay safe. Be aware of your surroundings. If you are quietly, peacefully protesting for Mr. George Floyd, please be aware of your surroundings. And if there's a curfew in that said town or city, adhere to it so that we will not be talking about you on the news or YouTube. God bless America. You all stay safe out there. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Like, share, subscribe, drop your comments below. Have a safe weekend. Bye-bye.